These emulation drives are pretty popular. They come preloaded with the emulation frontend and all the games and emulators all pre-configured and ready to rock. But you don't need to buy one of these to have an awesome emulation drive. You can steal one, or you could make your own, I guess. And then maybe I'll show you how to do that sometime if you ask me nicely. What's that? You want me to show you how to do that right now? Well, okay, since you asked so nicely. Hello, hi there, I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. It has come to my attention that you're interested in retro gaming. You want to play your favorite old video games from when you were a kid, but like a kid, you're lost and confused and hungry. Well, I can't help you with your hunger. It'll be dinner time soon and you've already had enough snacks today, and I don't want you to spoil your dinner, but I can help you with your hunger for retro games. I make lots of videos about retro handhelds and emulation consoles, and if you're into that sort of thing, you should probably subscribe. But one very popular product that I've showed off quite a bit are emulation hard drives. I like several of these quite a bit, but none of these have been quite perfect enough for me. Is it because my standards are just so high that I'll never be satisfied, just like how I am with girlfriends or root beer? Or is it because of the real reason, which is because what one person wants in an emulation drive is different from another person? I've been on the hunt for the perfect emulation drive. I've looked high and low, and I've cried myself to sleep on too many nights. And you know what? I'm tired of looking. I'm taking matters into my own dweeby hands. I'm gonna make my own emulation drive. And you can do it too. It's super easy. It barely takes anything to get started, and you can follow my steps and have your own perfect emulation drive tailored to your tastes, your unique tastes. But before we get into making the drive, one thing we should probably address is why someone would want an external emulation drive. I mean, can't you just run retro games through emulators on your computer? Well, yeah, you can do that if you want, but having all your ROMs and emulators and front-end on a portable drive has lots of advantages. For one thing, you can bring your game collection between computers, and it'll be all set up and ready to go, so you don't need to install emulators on every system that you want to game on. And also the save games. It's annoying to have multiple save files on multiple systems because then you're stuck copying the save file over when you want to play on a different system or just playing that game on that one system. A dedicated emulation drive solves that because you can just play the games with your save files right off the drive. And also having it on a drive means you don't need to store it on your PC. If you have several terabytes of ROMs, then you can just keep that on the drive and keep your internal storage free for other stuff. So, assuming you're with me and you want to make your own emulation drive, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what would the perfect emulation drive mean to me? I mean, not me, you. What does your perfect emulation drive look like? And because I know it's a big daunting question, I'm going to divide this into 3 categories: the form factor, the system, and the games. So for the form factor of the storage drive itself, well, this one's pretty straightforward. What size and shape of emulation drive do you want? An emulation drive could be any source of external storage. So it could be an SD card or a USB thumb drive or an external hard drive. And you'll need to think about the amount of storage on the drive. It could be any capacity really, but the amount of higher end games will be dictated by how much storage you actually have. I'll include a link in the description below to a few storage options at good prices that I recommend. I'm going with this. It's a 4 terabyte Seagate Xbox themed hard drive, and it has green lights on it, which means it's for gamers.
Only gamers know that joke.
And I'll include a link to this one in the description below if you want this one too. As for the system, well, there are several options. First, we could go with Batocera, which is a standalone Linux operating system made for emulation. It runs Emulation Station as the front end, and it comes pre-installed with all the emulators that you need. However, this is a full operating system, which means that you need to use this drive as a boot drive, which is a downside in my opinion, because sometimes you don't want to reboot the computer to play Super Mario World. Come on now. And then you could go with RetroBat, which is basically the same thing as Batocera, except that it runs in Windows. It's like a Windows Batocera program. So again, you're going to be using Emulation Station. Then we get the themes and the game libraries, and it comes with a nice easy installer that sets everything up for you, including most of the emulators, and it can automatically download other emulators as you need them. And then there are other emulation frontends that I admittedly don't have a ton of experience with. There is Launchbox and Big Box that I know a lot of people like, and I'm sure there are other emulation frontends out there, but I'm not going to go over every possible option in this video. My suggestion, and what I'm going to be using today, is to go with RetroBat. This will let you get Emulation Station, which is my favorite frontend, and you can move this between PCs and run the system from Windows without needing to boot to the device like you will with Batocera. And we need to think about our game collection. What sort of game library will make you happy? I mean, some people want everything. Every single game, including all the weird stuff like betas and prototypes and ROM hacks and stuff. Some people want all the games from their favorite systems, but they just want one copy of every game and only English games. And some people want their own best of library. So my suggestion is to use this portable drive as your opportunity to finally build your own ROM library and start collecting just the ROM sets that suit your needs and start trimming them down and organizing them the way that you want them. Oh, and I'll mention it now because I know I'll get some questions about it. How do you find ROMs? Well, I can't tell you that. I could get in trouble, my channel could get taken down, or the Nintendo lawyer ninjas will come and cut off my fingers. So if you can't figure out how to find your own ROMs, then I guess you're just out of luck. And maybe you should Google how to spend your time doing productive things and not collecting ROM sets for your favorite systems. So the first step is to set up your drive. If it's a new drive, just plug it in and make sure that it's recognized by Windows and you'll be good to go. If it's an old drive, just make sure that you have enough free space to install everything. RetroBat itself and the emulators takes up about 1.5 gigabytes, which isn't much. So just make sure that you have enough space for your ROM library. Once that's done, you'll need to download the RetroBat installer. Just go to the RetroBat website, retrobat.org, which I will have links below, and click download. And while you're there, why don't you toss a donation at the developers if you want to? It's always nice to support the people making the things that you love. Hint, hint. Once that's downloaded, you can run the installer. Well, when it comes time to choose your install location, you should choose the drive that you have plugged in. Either put it on the root level of the drive or put it in its own folder like I did. The install will take quite a while, and then when it's done, you'll be ready to test it out. Actually, before you do that, it's a good time to talk about controllers. RetroBat will work with pretty much any controller, as long as it's compatible with Windows. You can connect up a Bluetooth controller, or you can plug in a USB controller. You can use the keyboard to navigate RetroBat or even play your retro games, but if you play retro games with a keyboard, you're kind of a freak, and I want no part of that nonsense. So I'm going to assume that you have a controller of some sort. I'll include a link in the description below to a super cheap Xbox controller that I like if you need to pick one up. So go ahead and fire up RetroBat. You won't have much by default. Right now, just make sure that your controller works. If your controller does not work, you'll want to use your keyboard and press enter, then go down to the controller settings and select it with the X key on your keyboard, then go to controller mapping, and it'll ask you to hold a button down on your controller. Do that and it should be detected, and then it'll ask you to bind your controls. So just hold down the button that it asks, and then at the end when it asks for the hotkey, I recommend setting this as the select button on your controller. And that's it for this setup. So now we're ready to add our games. So in the RetroBat folder on your hard drive, you'll see a folder called ROMs, and in here are a whole bunch of folders, one for each of the supported systems. So your Atari 2600 games go in the Atari 2600 folder, Game Boy Advance PSX games go in the GBA folder, PS1 games go in the PSX folder, that sort of thing. You can figure that out. When that's done, you can open up RetroBat again, and then you'll see that all your games are auto-magically detected. Each system with games is shown, and the menu for that system, you'll see the games listed. And on the lower end systems like Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis or whatever, you'll find that the emulators and RetroArch cores are all set up and ready to go. No configuration needed. Just start up a game and boom, you're playing your old favorite retro games. All of the controls should automatically be pre-configured and ready to use. There are also some hotkeys conveniently set up for you. I've showed them on the screen, but I'll include a link to the wiki that lists all the hotkeys if you need help figuring them out. And a quick note about BIOS files. You may need BIOS files for some of your systems, and those go into the BIOS folder of the RetroBat install. However, you probably won't need that many BIOS files, maybe not any, because these days the RetroArch cores work pretty good without BIOS files. So my suggestion is to just start using it, and if you come across a system that needs a BIOS that you don't have, you can grab that somehow. In Emulation Station, we have lots of options to customize the emulation experience. You can turn the screen bezels on and off. You can change the emulation cores or apply shaders to make the games look like they're running on an old CRT monitor. Or in the 3D systems, you can enable upscaling to run early 3D games at enhanced resolutions. Lots of stuff to tinker around with in there. And we can also use themes to change the way that your front end looks. There is a theme browser built right into RetroBat, and you can use that to download themes and adjust their options. Most of this stuff is pretty easy to figure out, so I'm not going to go into depth in this video on any of this Emulation Station customization stuff, but I am working on an Emulation Station guide, so get subscribed if you don't want to miss that. One important part of making a very cool emulation system is scraping your game art. For this, you'll need an account for a service called Screen Scraper. If you sign up for the free account, you get like 20,000 daily scrapes, but each game requires several scrapes, potentially, if you want to get the box art or the logo and the screenshot or whatever, which is only a few thousand games. If you do that and you have a big game library, it'll take you quite a few days to scrape all your art. Or you can do what I do and support the service by signing up for a paid account, and you get way more scrapes. So sign up for the account, and then in RetroBat, you can go into the scraper option of the main menu, and in here, you can put in your Screen Scraper username and password, then also choose which screenshot options that you want. You can even do videos, but keep in mind that downloading thousands of videos would take a very long time and use up lots of your storage. I would only do that if you only had a small collection of games, personally. What I do is I scrape the game logo, the 3D box art, and the screenshot. And then you can start the scraping for the whole system, or just choose which systems that you want to scrape for. The scraping could take a long time if you have a big library, so you might want to do what I do and just leave it running overnight. And then when it comes to emulating the higher end systems, you might need to download emulators for these. Luckily, RetroBat makes it super easy to do that. All you need to do is fire up a game for a system, and then if it doesn't have the emulator, it'll ask you if you want to automatically download the emulator for that system. So for example, I want to play a GameCube game. I just start it up, and then when it asks if I want to download the emulator, I say, heck yeah, buddy. And then it'll download the emulator, and then boom, it just starts up the game. How freaking easy is that? I love this feature. It makes just getting your entire ROM library accessible so dang quick and easy. And, well, that's it. Do all that stuff and your emulation drive will be good to go. You can play this on your PC or your laptop, or if you have multiple computers, you can move the drive between them. And the best part about all that is that your custom settings and key bindings and save games and emulators, it's all part of the package. So you don't have to futz about with transferring files back and forth just to play your games. If you encounter any problems, there is a RetroBat wiki and frequently asked questions page that are so good. So I'll link to those in the description below. So my drive is basically done now, and it's freaking awesome, and I love it. It only took me an afternoon to put together, and it was fun and easy. I'm not going to give you a full tour because this video has gone on long enough, and I lied, it's not completely done. I have a few other game collections that I need to organize and add to it and trim some stuff down. So maybe someday I'll give you a proper in-depth tour and show you all the options that I chose for each system. But for now, you'll have to figure out all those little things yourself. But that's actually one of the great things about building your own drive. Choosing all the specific options that appeal to your own tastes. That's what we're here for, right? That's the main reason to make your own emulation drive. They sell all sorts of emulation drives that you can buy. Do that if you just want to get something that sort of works, but none of those will be perfect for you. Making your own is how you can get exactly what you want. The perfect emulation drive. It's up to you to make it and make it perfect. And I hope that the stuff I showed you today will be what you need to do that. And that brings us to the end. I hope you found this useful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. This video, like all my videos, is brought to you by the patrons of TechDweeb. If you'd like to become a patron and help support the things that I do, there's a link in the description below. If you like emulation content, then maybe check out this video where I show you what kind of ultra high-end emulation you can do on a badass gaming PC. That was a fun video. There's a link to that on the screen now and at the top of the description below. And that's me done for today. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.